And with that, I do want to transition to talk about ICE because one of the biggest bills for this is the ban 287G. And I do first want to get your perspective on that legislation, but also what do you think about the sudden change in Senate President Bill Ferguson actually say like, yes, this is a bill that we want to pass in a clean version of the bill?
You know, this is a bill that was too little too late last year, and he killed it in a literal backroom deal at the last moment, right? Because the polls told him that he needed to be scared of taking that position. And so, yes, it's fine. Yes, ban the 287G agreements, obviously, right? But this should not be a thing that we have to fight over multiple sessions for. This should not be in a state that is as blue as Maryland and as black and brown as Maryland. This should not be a place where we have to fight over multiple sessions in order to ban MAGA sheriffs from picking people up so they can turn them over to ICE. Like, it is ridiculous that we have to talk about this again. This is too little too late this year, and fighting this battle this year fails to understand the degree to which ICE has transformed into a stormtrooper army that is rampaging through our cities and is probably coming to Baltimore and PG County pretty soon, right? And so it is like, because of his political maneuvering last year, instead of fighting the real battles we need to fight this year, which are how we give our law enforcement the ability to protect our citizens and our residents from ICE, how we prosecute ICE agents who are breaking the law, how we stop ICE from operating, and not just in prisons and in jails and courthouses, but in schools and communities, on street corners, and in people's houses, right? 287G agreement, banning 287G agreements isn't going to do anything when ICE says we're going to kick down your door if we want to because we can, because we're ICE, right? And so, yes, obviously we should ban the 287 agreements. We should ban all cooperation with ICE. We should prosecute any ICE agents who are breaking the law, and we should give our local jurisdictions and local law enforcement the power to stand up in between ICE and our residents and make sure that they're protecting them, right? And so we put out a statement earlier this week that said that we need to abolish ICE, and that at the federal level, we need to abolish ICE and create a pathway to citizenship. We need to pass state laws that use the full power of our state to stand up against Trump and his Gestapo ICE forces, right? And we need to make sure that we're giving law enforcement what they need. And I think, if you look at that statement, I think it says what a lot of Democrats believe. I think a lot of Democrats believe everything we said in that statement, and they have become trained to take crumbs like 287G agreements, or what is the bill that is like
No masking.
the masking one? Okay, whatever. Like, fine, right? But it is like, okay, they don't actually care, right? Like, they don't care once they've been given the ability to kick down your door and take your children, whether they have a mask on, because JD Vance reminded us that they have absolute immunity, right? So they probably would like the mask, but that's not going to stop them. The other one that is, don't hire anyone in Maryland law enforcement that got hired by Trump, is the most Democrat brained idiocy I've ever heard, because it's not as if people who work for ICE, who are throwing tear gas grenades into families' cars, who got hired under Obama or hired under Biden, should be working law enforcement here in Maryland, right? And it is like, okay, why are you specifying that these people are like not allowed to work if they're hired under Trump? And so it's too little because it only focuses on people who are hired under Trump, and it's too much because it's like, we can't say nobody who worked for this federal agency can work in Maryland law enforcement. That's like, we can, but it's going to get struck down right away. It's entirely performative. And what I think we should say is strict record scrutiny on anybody who is involved in anything illegal when they work for ICE, prosecute as many of the people as we can who are involved, and use that as the means to keep them from being involved in law enforcement.